welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyaso. Tonight, meeting between federal government and academic staff union of universities ends in a deadlock. Lecturer strike continues. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo brands inciting and inflammatory comments as terrorism, warns of the grave danger posed by hate speech to the world. Federal High Court sitting in Lagos orders forfeiture of over 437 million naira linked to a serving federal permanent secretary. And van plows into crowd in Spanish city of Barcelona, killing at least 13 persons, injuring 32. Police describe incident as terror attack.
And in business news tonight, India books 4 million barrels of crude from Total and Shell Nigeria as they await the country's latest export schedule. While on sports news, World Football Governing Body FIFA nominates Super Falcons coach Florence Omagbemi for the 2017 Best Coach of the Year award.
And from Abuja, Senate President Bukola Saraki and Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara visit President Buhari in London.
We begin tonight with the face-off between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Well, now it seems that reality is gradually settling in, and there are clear indications that the government-owned universities across the country may remain shut until the federal government listens to the demands of the striking lecturers. Today, both parties were unable to reach an agreement, and their meeting, which lasted for several hours, ended in a deadlock. The lecturers are insisting that the government should, among other things, fulfill the agreement it had with them in 2009 and 2013.
Since Monday, the 14th of August 2017, when the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, declared a nationwide strike, the federal government and the unionists have been embroiled in trying to resolve the crisis.
With the signing of the MOU,
the meeting with the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions is part of that effort. The government presents its position.
I've already written a letter formalizing the meeting I had with them because I went alone, faced them, and then all the agreements we did, I wrote a letter which I gave it them yesterday. From the way they received it, Mr. Chairman, I think it is possible that the strike will be called off within a week maximum.
However, this joint meeting between the Minister of Labour and Employment, the Minister of Education, and the leadership of ASU does not seem to indicate that a quick solution to the crisis would happen soon.
What I'm saying is that before an industrial union, you are a union, proceeds on a strike against an employer, you serve the mandatory notice for 15 days. Once you serve on your direct employer, which is education, you serve on me too, as the chief conciliator. That wasn't done.
it's not a fresh action. We're not declaring any fresh strike. We are resuming a suspended action. That is the way we see it. And that is what it is.
After those arguments, the meeting went into a closed-door session. Thereafter, journalists were re-invited into the hall for a briefing.
Within the last 48 hours, government have been working. The Minister of Education, Minister of Finance, Attorney General of the Federation, and we are taking some government position, which we had communicated to us.
Government has made some offers on the issues that we have raised. We've taken copious note of their offers, but we have to get back to our members.
What are some of these offers?
I'm sorry, I can't go to discussing specifics. The offers are for our members.
ASU is on strike to protest the failure of the federal government to honor its agreement with the union in 2009 regarding non-payment of salaries and allowances accruing to members, as well as the poor state of infrastructure in public universities. As it stands, the new offer by the federal government to the unionists remains unknown, and the fate of thousands of university students who are affected by the strike action will be determined by what ASU decides to do with the offer.
The acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, is talking tough and ready to clamp down on those who make inflammatory comments in the country. Such comments, according to him, will be treated as acts of terrorism due to the danger they pose to the country's unity.
The government has drawn a line on hate speech. Hate speech is a species of terrorism. Terrorism, as is defined popularly, is the unlawful use of violence or intimidation against individuals or groups, especially for political ends. The law on hate speech, the Terrorism Act 2011, defines hate speech, amongst other definitions, as an act deliberately done with malice and which may seriously harm or damage a country or seriously intimidate a population. The intimidation of a population by words, by speech, is an act of terrorism. And this government intends to take this matter seriously. As I've said, we've drawn a line against hate speech. It will not be tolerated. It will be taken as an act of terrorism, and all of the consequences will follow it. I call on business, religious, and political leaders, whatever your political leaning, your religion or tribe or faith, to condemn in the strongest possible terms at all times hate speech, speech that promotes violence against an individual or a group, especially when such speech comes from people of your own faith, your own tribe, or your own group. Your silence in such situations can only be seen as an endorsement.
And staying with the acting president's concern, now another source of worry for him is the state of insecurity in the country. This time he's not only worried about the northeast, but also about the security of every Nigerian. And that explains why the acting president and other members of the National Executive Council met in Abuja today to discuss how to protect lives and property using technology. They want the Inspector General of Police to constitute a community policing program that will involve local communities.
The acting president and chairman of the National Economic Council, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, arrives for a special session of the council. The focus is national security.
Views of the public and all of that.
Aside from state governors and members of the Federal Executive Council, the judiciary and the military were present at this meeting to form a collaboration that will address the nation's security challenges.
We need the commitment of every Nigerian, particularly the Nigerian on the street, who feels one way or the other deprived of one thing or the other, rightly or wrongly, could be imaginary, but he ought to be attended to. Where he's pointing out as where his problems are coming may not necessarily be the source of his problems, but it is necessary for us to look in that direction in case it's right. Because if we have security, we have justice, then many of these agitations will equally die down.
The issue of security is a primary responsibility of government to secure properties, life of the citizens. And it's a collective responsibility by all, those that are in here and those that are outside.
The administration has also recently conducted a set of engagements with governors, traditional and religious leaders. The outcome of these meetings has produced the community police program, which will be implemented by the Nigerian police.
we expect that the community policing program will take root and take effect, and that all of our police formations across the country will engage their communities in the very creative way that the police have themselves prescribed in the community policing program. And so we expect that this will be a fundamental change in the way that policing is carried out in our country, and that it will yield the kinds of results that we expect.
The acting president closes the opening session by reminding all the authorities present that the 1999 Constitution states that the primary purpose of government is security and welfare of the people. And this meeting will design an implementation strategy to fulfill this constitutional duty.
It appears the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is recording more gains for Nigeria in the fight against corruption, the latest being the interim forfeiture of more than 437 million naira by the Federal High Court in Lagos. The money is linked to a serving permanent secretary in the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment, and the EFCC is alleging that the monies were meant for the implementation of Sure P projects. The first ever report detailing bribery practices in Nigeria's public and private sector was released this week by the National Bureau of Statistics. Now, the survey was a complete departure from the NBS's traditional stream of data on macroeconomic indices such as inflation, petrol prices, crime and the gross domestic product. Channels Television's business editor Osinbajo reports on what the new National Corruption Survey reveals and why it's considered by some experts as an important economic tool.
The National Bureau of Statistics have rattled the country with its new National Corruption Survey that shows the sum of 402 billion naira as estimated total bribe monies paid to Nigerian public officials in a year. The reports resulting from a survey conducted between June 2015 and June 2016 provides comprehensive details of the reach of bribery, how bribery works, who takes bribes, who pays bribes, and how Nigerians respond to bribery. Economist and Chief Executive Officer at Financial Derivatives Company, Bismarck Rwane, says the new report deserves government commendation.
I think it should be given a handshake. It should be given laurels. The fact that you had the courage to go and ask people, how many times have you bribed today? How many times have you bribed this year? And people came out and said, okay, no, I haven't done too much of it. It's only 5 times a year. So you've got to a point where you come out and you're driving a Lamborghini, you're driving a Mercedes-Benz, having a big party, and you have no visible means of livelihood.
The new National Corruption Report features a list of the usual public service institutions perceived as the most corrupt in Nigeria, from the police to the judiciary and immigration. The report also lists private sector industries like banking, insurance, and even hospitals. The survey stands out under the Buhari's administration, one that prides itself in anti-corruption both as a key campaign mantra and a major point, despite the low scoring on socio-economic performance among many Nigerians. Mr. Rwane believes the new corruption survey ties in with the whistleblowing policy of the government and should be used as an economic revival tool.
The whistleblowing program is part of, there's deterrence, and then there's actually blowing the whistle because you've seen it. Because I know there's a whistleblower or a potential whistleblower, it will make me think twice before I carry out a corrupt act. So that is the most important part of it. Secondly is that you can recover stolen funds with a whistleblower.
The new corruption survey is a damning disclosure about bribery and corruption in Nigeria, as it details the actual experiences of Nigerians in their daily interactions with both public and private sector institution officials. Osinbajo, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, more on the NBS report. I'll be joined by the chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Mr. Kyari Buka. That's in a moment. Do stay with us.